There's a less famous story about an ultra-famous icon that kind of illustrates this pretty well. Steve Jobs, in his first stint at Apple, saw himself as the ultimate artist, the ultimate product designer artist. When he eventually began working on the Macintosh project, he called his group, we're the pirates, we're the artists, and everyone else is a bozo. Everyone else working on the Apple III franchise. The Apple II had been a good success. The Apple III franchise, the least, so those guys are all bozos. We're doing something radically different, a crazy new idea. We're the ultimate artists and pirates. Those guys are regular Navy soldiers. Bozos. Those bozos made 95% of the revenue of the company. They took to wearing a button with a red sash, red circle, with a picture of Bozo the Clown and a line through it, we are not bozos. But eventually, he created enormous hostility between these two groups. The road between their two buildings was called the DMZ, the Demilitarized Zone. Good people started leaving not just on the soldier side, but on both sides. When the Mac launched, it was a flop. It was one of the most famous Super Bowl ads of all time. But the product itself was a flop. It was too hot, it overheated, it was unreliable, it was too slow. And because all these good people had been leaving, the franchise sales started to tank. And Apple started to head towards bankruptcy, and Jobs was demoted and eventually left. When Jobs returned 12 years later, he appointed Johnny Ive. He was the ultimate product designer artist who's designed, probably any of you who have Apple products in your pocket or on your wrist, it's the designer behind those products. And who did he appoint in charge of operations? A guy named Tim Cook, who in his previous job was known as Attila the Hun of inventory. There's a better name for a soldier, I don't know it. And he loved both equally. Contrary to popular myth, he treated both equally and both with respect, just like Vannevar Bush did in the military. The military, so many scientists, for example, condescend to military men. Vannevar Bush loved military men. The trust and respect and esteem that he held them, and how he realized the importance of the role that they played, is what allowed Vannevar Bush to succeed in World War II. And it was key to Steve Jobs' success, despite the popular myth of him being this crazy artist focused entirely on product. Late in life, he told one of his biographers, who asked him about what did he think was his greatest innovation, he said, my greatest innovation was in the way I designed the organization. He loved his artists and soldiers equally, and when he died, who became his successor, not the artist? It was the soldier, Tim Cook. That's the ice cube. Separate your artists and soldiers. The garden hoe. Be a gardener, not a Moses. Manage the transfer, not the technology. And the heart. Love your artists and soldiers equally.